Hey guys, Tin Man Sam here. This time we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to be inside the utility room instead of the garage. Got a dryer, a Whirlpool that has lost its ability to heat. Dryer still runs, comes on, appears to work, but we get no heat, so things take a long time to dry. So what we're going to be doing, and I've already replaced this a couple times, we're going to be replacing the heating element. This is the heating element. You can get these off Amazon or from a Whirlpool authorized dealer, all that jazz. But I went ahead and changed that out, and it came on and it worked fine for about 1 minute, and then it stopped working again. So ultimately, what happened is I got in there and tested, and we blew one of our thermal cutoff switches. This is part number 279769. That's the Whirlpool part number, and this comes with the high limit switch and the thermostatic switch too. Typically you replace these two when you replace the element. I didn't do that. I tried to kind of cut corners. It's worked for me before, but this time it did not, and ultimately we ended up popping that high limit fuse. So this is a pretty straightforward job. Just need a few tools, a putty knife to get the cover off the front, and then a 1/4 inch socket and ratchet, and a flashlight, and then of course I have an ohm meter. This is a nice one, but even a cheap one will work fine to kind of check the terminals to make sure we have continuity. It doesn't necessarily tell you whether it's good or bad, but it is a good quick check just to make sure that the fuse isn't popped. I have checked our fuse and it is definitely popped, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this. I'll show you guys how this works. If you can see in here, and my camera girl here I'm gonna trust that she can get a good look in there, but there's a couple spring clips in there, and you just want to slide this putty knife in there and get that spring clip out of a recess in the top, and when you do that, this will pop right out. And then we're gonna do the same thing over here. Sometimes you got to finagle it just a little bit. And that's what we were popping. These little tabs here and here, they ride into little grooves, little holes. And actually there's not even a hole, it just kind of clips in there. Yeah, I guess there is a hole. And when you push these down, it releases that from the hole. And then the bottom down here, a flashlight, the bottom down here just kind of pulls up off of those. Forgive our dirty lint. This thing hasn't been opened up for a few years. We'll set this over here to the side. And now that we're in here, I can get you guys some light here. What we're going to be working at is this area right here. And just so you guys know, if you can show up here, we've unplugged this thing. I should have done that first, or pointed that out first, but this is unplugged. We know that we're safe from power, and essentially we're going to go in here and we're going to pull this thing out and see if we can't get the heating element out in one piece, which shouldn't be a problem. Pretty straightforward. Just have a all heads or sheet metal screws, our 1/4 inch drive. So it's a pretty straightforward fix here, just one bolt. And I always recommend that you take a picture. It's a bit hard to see, but we've got all kinds of wires hooked up in here. And if you just take a good picture, which I have, you can kind of get a good idea of where the wires go, because we are going to unplug all those wires. And I'm going to climb in here real quick. Nina, you might want to come up over here so you can see in. I'm just going to go in here and pull all the wires off. Of all of our switches. And now that we're off, and to make this a little bit easier, I'm going to take one more bolt out, guys. This thing's kind of I'm not going to lie to you, this is a pretty easy job, but there is kind of a pain here, and it's this this metal housing for the heating element. they're kind of wedged in there and get out. But by taking this front leg off here, that'll give us a little bit more room so you can kind of see what's going on. I wish somebody had shown this to me the first time I did this, because it's kind of frustrating and you can't get the thing, you know, it feels like it wasn't put together right, but the reality is that's just kind of how these things are. So there we go. It just kind of wiggled out. And here is our heating element, our thermostatic switch, and our high cutoff switch. And real quick, I'm going to set my ohm meter to ohms. Nina, if you look over here, so we're just up on the ohms. This is an auto range one, so it doesn't matter. And quite frankly, we're checking for continuity. So really, we just need tone when we have continuity. So the first thing, we know we have a heating element here, and this heating element, you know, obviously is a resistive element, but it should have continuity through it. If it doesn't, that's an indication that the heating element is burned out and there's a break in that continuity. The next thing we want to check is this thermostatic switch. This is testing. I don't want to say good. I'm a little bit hesitant to say good because we do have continuity, but that doesn't necessarily mean this thing is doing what it's supposed to be doing. But it would indicate, in all probability, that that's probably a good piece there. We're still going to replace it because the kit comes with two. But if you come here and check the high limit thermostat switch, you can see we have no continuity on that. So we're going to go ahead and replace these. And it's kind of a good idea to check everything, make sure they match. 390291, 390291. I'm sorry, 33900291. So those are the same. And this doesn't really have a real quick number that I can read it. It's kind of etched on there and it's upside down, but let me check. Looks like 334 is what we end in, so it's a little bit scratched up. It's hard to read, but I got 77334 for the last 4 digits, or 5 digits. 7334. Got the same down here, so we're pretty confident these are the right ones. Now let's do a real quick check to see what we're getting readings on. If we got continuity on that one, and then the high limit thermal switch got continuity on that one, whereas on this one we do not. So that's a pretty good indication that's where the problem is. So we'll go ahead and swap these out. Fortunately, they use the same 1/4 inch dry sheet metal screws. So we'll go ahead and get this out and swap over. There's a little foot that kind of clips in there, so just be aware of that. Not a big deal, just something to watch out for. Perfect fit, so we're back on here. Alright, on to the next one. Just kind of being aware of our orientation. These connectors are bottom left to top right. I'll make sure to, in the description of the video, put links to all these things. There's a lot of videos on the internet. It's hard to find the exact one. These older dryers, this is from, we bought this in 2004. It's hard, you're seeing less and less of them on the YouTube videos, so it's getting harder to find exactly the right video. So I'll make sure we get all the part numbers in there for you. Get some of this lint cleaned off of here. Seems to fit pretty good. Sheet metal screws are always kind of a pain, but the good news is once they go in, they just kind of find their way. Okay, so that's about as tight as that one's going to get. Again, these are just sheet metal screws, so they're not going to snug up like machine bolts, but we're in there pretty good. Check our continuity again. Good, good, and then good on this heating element. So one little tip.
You scared me.
Putting this back in is kind of always a bear, but one little tip is to kind of come in here and kind of bend this back to where it's tapered so that it'll fit into the exhaust vent that this goes into. And you guys are going to watch me struggle with this. I apologize. I haven't mastered a good way to do this. We just kind of go in here and kind of jam this thing in and make it work. Okay, so we got that back in. I'm not going to lie to you, it's not real easy. You just have to kind of not be afraid to break it, because it won't break. It's pretty tough sheet metal, but you get that thing in there and you spin it around. How are we looking on light, Nina? Do we need to turn that light on top of the camera? There's a switch right here. Just slide that on and hit your button a couple times. There you go. And we're just finishing up. Remember, I took a picture of how my wires went, although I don't know that it's entirely necessary. It's pretty straightforward. You can kind of see where the wires are supposed to go. And then right here, there's a little spot where a foot of this thing snaps in, and once that's in, you know you're located pretty close. And before we put this thing cover back on, we're going to go ahead and start this thing and make sure that we see that heating element heating up. Okay, so we got everything hooked up. Check our wires real quick. Everything looks good. And so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and plug the dryer back in. And start this thing up. Light off, we should see some heat coming out of there. Take a look here. If we turn this light off, guys can see, that heating element is getting hot. And it looks like we have good heat coming in. So now we can throw this back on. This is pretty easy. Just kind of sits on these springs on the bottom. And that's it, guys. We got the Whirlpool dryer fixed again. It should give us another few years of trouble-free service, hopefully. Open this up and make sure we got some heat coming in there. You can kind of smell that new heating element. It smells like your furnace when you fire it up for the first time in the fall, but so far so good. And again, this is a pretty quick repair. I'll put all the parts in the description, but probably about $60 worth of parts, and as you can see, probably about a 15 to 30 minute job. That's it, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.